All right, guys are lining in now. It's good to see everybody showing up for our first show of Torque Performance. We're going live with a brand new show hitting the airways tonight for the first time. Killer guests, great new host for this show. And man, you're going to dig it. We've been us out, hit the like and share button, get this thing fired up and sent all over the two world.
Hey there, welcome to Torque Performance Television. I'm your host, Jason Hallman. Yes, thank you. I'll do autographs after the show. No, I'm just kidding. I want to thank everybody for following along. That's been following the last few weeks. So since Daytona, that's when we hatched this harebrained idea. And I wanted to share with everybody what's going on the performance side of things. So a little bit about myself. My name is Jason Hallman. I am the owner and proprietor of Cycle Stop USA in Lakeland, Florida. I am also the host of the Garage Build podcast that you can find on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, basically anywhere where you get your quality podcast from. And I want to thank, before we get going too far, I want to thank Chris and Heather Kelling for trusting in me to do something of this magnitude. And I want to introduce you to somebody who has helped me all the way through getting this planned out behind the scenes. And now he's going to be my co-host, at least for this week, Mr. John O'Brien from Hardcore Cycles. What's up, John?
What's going on?
Was this my idea or your idea?
I have no idea. I'm just here.
Right? You're just along for the ride. Well, I appreciate all of the help. Yeah, I appreciate all the help that you've given me up to this point, because this is definitely something that I've learned that is not scalable on your own. I don't know how Chris does it week in and week out, producing 3 shows. And he's been here in Lakeland for the last 3 days, and I'm running on about 5 hours of sleep. Not contiguously, but 5 hours definitely is all I got last night, because all of the planning and the working and all that stuff, and learning how to put together something of this scope. So thank you very much for being so supportive and helping me with this, man. I think this is going to be something great for all of us. And as I always say, a rising tide lifts all ships. I want to just kind of explain, and John, you can jump in wherever you want to, what Torque Performance is going to be all about.
Performance.
Right. Well, I mean, we've had so many conversations and in meetings and stuff over the last few weeks that we're finding out that we feel like there's a kind of a gap in a centered amount of information, and we're going to produce basically one funnel's worth of information coming into the same place. And so where a lot of magazines back in the day used to report what had already happened, we're going to try to use the dynamic social media channels that we all know and love to try to create kind of the citizen journalism as we get right into it.
Absolutely. And like we were talking about earlier, this is probably the most popular trend since I've been in the bikes that I've seen. You know what I mean? This doesn't seem like it's going to come and go with the braking, the engines. You know what I mean? Everybody's so performance oriented right now, from Sportsters to baggers to the new Softails. You know, the dedicated Dyna guys are still doing that. You know, and the FXR guys, they've probably been around performance. You know what I mean? They probably the ones that started this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you mentioned that. I feel like it's always been here. It's just hasn't been accentuated as much as what it absolutely has been. You know, since day one, when someone started a Harley, they started to make it go faster, right? Correct.
Absolutely. It's all Harleys have always been performance driven, you know, to some extent. There's always like the big wheel bagger scene that kind of diverted from the performance scene. So that, yeah, but as of now, as the last 5 or 6 years, the industry's been behind it with, you know, parts, you know what I mean? Support, you know what I mean? Everybody's just pushing and pushing and pushing for this performance thing.
Yeah, and you have companies out there. I want to make sure I give an extra special shout out to, right above me here, you see in the banner, Shineworks, Brian Clock from Clockworks Performance. You know, they're very well known for producing a high quality product and being around for a very long time. But they wanted to be, you know, they see the value in this as well. And so I wanted to give a shout out that they're our official studio sponsor and will continue to be so. So everything that we do will be from the Shineworks studios.
He is the OG for performance baggers.
Yeah, the world's fastest bagger. He was the first guy
world's fastest bagger, the biker build off, you know what I mean? Everything, you know what I mean? He's it as far as performance baggers. That's where it started.
Yeah, he's also the guy that as trends have come and go, he's always kind of been with that, carrying it through with his product line and his service department there in Mitchell, South Dakota. I don't know. Have you ever been to Brian's shop?
I haven't. And I'm hoping that's going to change soon, but no, I haven't been there.
Yeah, there's definitely an air of relaxation once you get on the other side of like Chicago. I feel like the Midwest kind of just opens up, and there's like a no pressure zone is the way I would refer to it as. And when you get up there, you're in a really neat place, and he's got a great staff up there. And obviously, I mean, they produce one hell of a product and everything they do, you know.
Hands down. And they're I hear their pre-Sturgis party is, you know what I mean, pretty much the kickoff for the entire.
Yeah, that's the one I've been to. It's actually it's pretty live.
Yeah. So I'd like to get out there. I'm gonna see about making that happen.
Yeah, we need to get you. We got to bust your Sturgis cherry this year, right?
Oh, hands down.
Well, so Torque Performance isn't just going to be this weekly show. The Torque Performance is actually going to be something that we do. It's kind of be a new digital media footprint, as well as we're going to have a print product. So we're going to go to press. I just found out our deadline today is going to be July 21st. So we're going to launch the magazine actually at Sturgis, and more details to follow, obviously. But it's going to be Sturgis is going to be a very big year for, I think, the performance industry as a whole. And I'm glad that we're getting things off the ground here at the beginning of the year. Just judging by what we saw in Daytona and the amount of enthusiasm that we've had these last few weeks as we start to ratchet this thing up to full capacity. You know, with this show, we've got another show that we're going to be producing as well through Source Media, the print product, and then obviously the social media channels. So there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of moving parts very quickly. And I attribute that to the ability to, to partner with Chris and Heather Callan, and they're pros at it, and they know exactly what to do and how to advise. So I think it'll happen pretty fast.
Yeah, Daytona really kicked it. No, Daytona really kicked it off, as you know what I mean, as far as the year goes for the performance scene. Everything, you know what I mean, V2 Visionary show, the Hardcore Cycle show, you know what I mean, and just the whole scene down there, it was cool. You know what I mean? Everybody was about the bikes, everybody was about having a good time. There was no assholes. It was cool.
Yeah, I found that this year felt very much like 2007, 2008. There was so many people there, and all the roadhouses were busy. I went down Main Street a couple of times. It seemed like it was pretty happening. The Boot Hill Saloon, obviously all of the staples that you go to Daytona. But what was really cool for me is seeing an entire new group of individuals that are coming up behind us in the motorcycle industry, kind of getting down and having fun and participating in a lot of different things. There was, like you said, there was the V2 and Visionary show at Destination Daytona. There was the Hardcore Performance or Hardcore Cycle show, performance show at the same pavilion on Sunday. And then there was the staple shows too, of course. There's always Warren Lane's True Grit and the Dennis Kirk Garage Built show and the Cycle Source show. And every show I went to was super packed. And even Willie's this year, they had to shut down registration with 161 bikes. So that is a very, very good metric or good data point to say that there was a lot of things going on, and I thought it was awesome.
Destination Daytona had to close 2 days. The lot was, the lot was full.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
that's a lot of people.
Yes. So Sunday, the day of our show, and I want to say Wednesday or Thursday, they were just at capacity.
That's amazing. You have an outdoor venue that's that big that can hit capacity. That's something
that parking goes back for like miles. So you have the buildings that are like right off of 95 there. Then you have like MMI in the back, and everything. Yeah. They use that entire campus.
Yep.
The entire campus was full.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you scale it out. It's one city, of course, right? It's Daytona Beach, but you have Ormond and Port Orange and South Daytona Beach and all that. But it's a pretty big place, and everywhere we went was a line to wait for dinner and things like that. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
without a doubt, it was good to see.
We've got a couple things going on tonight. We've got some interviews with Team Saddlemen riders Cory West and Patricia Fernandez. We're going to break the show up. You're going to get used to seeing the show with a couple different segments in it. We've got one segment that is a new product segment. We're going to have a tech segment. Well, like I said, we're going to interview influencers, racers, people in the business, stunt guys. I'm pretty excited to see who we have coming up in the next couple weeks. And then we've got I think is going to be my favorite part of the show near the end. There is going to be called From the Gram. And I can't wait for everybody to see that, because that's basically going to be one part Tosh.0, one part ridiculousness. But right now, I think we're going to go to our new product segment, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Hey, this week's Torque Performance Television product of the week is the new Shineworks, EngineWorks, and MattWorks from Brian Clock and the Clockworks family. If you know anything about his product line, before it leaves his door, it's been used inside his shop for a long time. I've actually been using the Shineworks here at Cycle Stop USA for a few months. It's a fantastic spray on and wipe off wax. They have one for the denim bike paint as well as one for your black engine. These are available online at clockworks.com, or any drag specialties dealer can sell them too. If you have any questions about this product, go ahead and shoot them in, and right here to my right, when this segment is over with, we'll take your questions. Thanks for watching Torque Performance Television.
And as always, we are live from the Shineworks studios. Make sure you go to clockworks.com and check out getclocked.com, and check out their entire product line there. And remember, you can get the entire line of Clockworks products at any drag specialties dealer. So I think right now would probably be a good time to kind of talk a little bit about there's some new stuff going on as far as racing, right? So in the performance segment, there is a motorcycle now that probably didn't fit into that a couple years ago until, a couple of outliers started creating parts specifically for them. And I would say that would be the baggers, right?
Yeah.
And so now we have two separate racing leagues. We have the King of the Baggers and then the Bagger Racing League that are both trying to kind of vie for that top spot and create some space for people to race some of the bikes that are race prep specifically for this. And I know that you kind of have a little bit of a tighter lens maybe than what I do on that. But what do you think overall? What do you think of that?
I love it. And last year when the King of Baggers was aired, the hype, you know what I mean? Like the hype that built it up, and it actually lived up to it. I watched that race. I think it came out on Sunday. I watched that race like 3 times that day.
Yeah, we watched it too here at work, like kind of collectively as a team. We put it up on the big screen there behind me.
Yeah, I did the same.
It's pretty substantive when you think about the fact that they were racing bikes that were specifically modified just to run around a track that are I've had lots of different conversations with people, some people inside other companies that I won't say where I got the information, but some of the bikes they spent oodles and oodles of cash on. Some of them they didn't spend near as much as what people think they did, but they raced at Laguna Seca, and they said that there was standing room only along the fence at most areas of the racetrack. Yeah. I mean, anytime a new group of the same engine that's in a Baggers in the new Softail, the same engine that's in an older Baggers in the Dyna, and people hot rod those Dynas and the Softails all the time. So it would only stand to reason that this is a good fit to move the needle and get to the next level.
It was the next step, performance wise. That this race was like logically the next step, and think about how bad 2020 sucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was nice that that people are still thinking about being innovative, though, too.
Correct. So between the King of Baggers, the Bagger Racing League, it's awesome. You know what I mean? It's great for the industry. It's great for the sport. And look at these bikes. Look at these. Man.
There's, I'm glad that you see more and more and more of it, too. You see people actually – I know that Tony Tucker's building a bike specifically for the class, and I've even heard rumblings and grumblings of creating a sportsman class for it too, which, I know that pro racing is always going to be the order of the day and paying the bills and things like that, especially for advertising and that. But as somebody who's a sportsman drag race, those people spend a lot of money and they put a lot of emphasis and a lot of hard work into creating something like that. And again, as I always say, I'll go back to it, the rising tide that lifts all ships. That is going to create a big pool of money for people to spend money with companies like Drag, with companies like Legend Suspension. So, and you've got the Bagger Racing League, right? And so that's a whole nother thing. Yeah. Look at the juggernauts that are up there that are they're ready to go. I mean, they've got their engineers, they've got their manufacturing things all kind of getting ready to find out what the next mousetrap is going to be, and I'm pretty excited about it. And so that brings us to our next segment. Is we are going to interview two professional racers that are they're on Team Saddlemen, right? And so it's kind of a head-to-head competition. They are I'm guessing, for lack of anything, their boyfriend and girlfriend, right? Mr. Cory West and Patricia Fernandez, and they're going to field two bikes from Team Saddlemen, and one is going to be an Indian and one is going to be a Harley, and we're going to introduce them right now. Hey, there she is.
Sorry.
Live from your car.
I am.
How are you, Patricia?
I'm good. I'm visiting family, so unfortunately, the only quiet place I could find was the car.
Oh, right. Yeah, you can't go visit family from across the country and tell them they all have to be quiet.
No, there's going to be two teenage boys in the house. It's not going to happen.
Right. So
it's not going to happen.
You are a Team Saddlemen member, as well as your boyfriend, Cory West, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I've gone through your Instagram, and there are lots and lots of pictures of you dragging your knee, wearing a professional set of leathers, and riding what looked like to be some pretty fast motorcycles. And a couple of them there are the number 87 bagger. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, obviously, how you got involved in racing, and then tell us a little bit how you ended up racing a bagger.
So, I'm sorry. I don't know why the power keeps cutting off on this. I'll turn it on. There you go. Sorry. So my racing story is a lot different than a lot of others. I never had anyone in my family that was a racer or grew up with it. I just like motorcycles, and probably like most people, I told my parents I wanted one, and they said if I wanted one, I had to move out the house and buy my own. So that's what I did. I moved out of the house. I bought my own. I just rode on the street. It was fun. And then a bunch of my friends were doing track days. So I did my first track day, and I was just addicted from day one. So I just put all my own money into it. I was doing track days and became a club racer. I went expert and then qualified for pro. And then once I went pro, I kept going with it. It wasn't anything I ever thought I was going to be or a goal of mine, but it was something that happened, and I just took the opportunity. And it's absolutely an addiction. I feel like motorcycles are addiction for most of us, but to a extreme level. And I'm fortunate to be dating Cory West, who is also another professional motorcycle racer. So he understands my addiction, but he raced, or already got a race a bagger last year, and they were interested in another rider, and he dropped my name, and it ended up, I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. To me, I've been a sport bike racer, super sport, super bike, super stock. I've raced everything with two wheels, and it was like, a bagger. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I expected the worst. And actually, once I rode it, I was thoroughly impressed, and I very much enjoyed myself. So I'm really excited for a new opportunity to race a bagger. I can't believe I'm even saying that, but it's pretty exciting just to see all the fans and all the people in there, and even people that are sport bike people that have never ridden a bagger. It's amazing to see it. And then people that are, big bagger fans, or another side of motorcycle passion, and they get to see it out there. It just ignited this whole new fire that hasn't been around in racing in a while. And it's just really cool to be a part of it.
That's really refreshing to hear from the inside out, that like you said, that ignited a fire that hasn't been there in a very long time. That's a very interesting statement, because as you well know, being a racer, that once it kind of gets inside of who you are, it's actually kind of leaves its fingerprint in your DNA. And like you said earlier during the pre-interview, you said that you'd race an ostrich or a unicycle. And so basically that just tells me that, it's not of course it's important to have good equipment, right? And it's important to have something that's fast and competitive, but you can be competitive. If you're a competitive person, the vessel isn't the most important part of the competitive piece, right? What is the biggest difference when you got on the bagger that you're like, whoa, this is way different than what I thought it was going to be.
Well, honestly, before I got on the bagger, I had the lowest expectation possible. You got to understand someone that's been professional motorcycle racer, that's raced the most like amazing sport bikes, and what you would think circuit racing is absolutely not what you think a bagger would be. You think of a bagger, you think of a guy cruising around like beer in his saddles or picnic basket
saying
or whatever.
hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
It's great. Like, I'm not saying that, but you don't see a bagger and think like, oh, I'm going to race that on the track. It's just not what you think of. But, you know, it really defies the stereotype. And when I first, you know, I was like, well, I'll go test it. Like, I didn't commit to racing anything because I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was like, well, I'll try it. And I expected the worst. But actually, when I got on it and I rode it, it was so comfortable and it performed so well. And I was like, my mind was blown every time I went out there, every single lap. Like, I was just dropping time. And I came in like a little giddy schoolgirl with a smile on my face. I was like, oh man, that's so much fun. But I guess it was just, it's different and it's fun and it's unique. And I kind of like the bagger racing. Being one of the only female in a male dominated sport, I feel like I kind of defy the stereotype. And I feel like that's what a bagger does. Like, you know, you show up and no one expects you to do anything and no one expects you to perform. And then when you get out there and you actually start ripping and dragging and doing really good times, and when it kind of like blows their minds, that's where you get a lot of your satisfaction from. Is just defining the stereotype and being able to compete was fun. But I didn't get a whole lot of time on it, but when I did get on it, I was really excited and I actually wanted to keep going, but we roasted the tire. Kind of my fault, kind of Cory's fault. But it was a really good time. And like I said, like igniting that fire that hasn't been there in a while in racing. Just when you're a racer, you're a racer, whether you're a fan or you're a competitor, you just like to see that competition. You like to see, you know, people going out there and just giving it them all. And when you're on something that's so new or just so new to racing, it's almost like we're all little kids again. It gives us something to do.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of what's happening in the performance series, like John and I were talking earlier in the show about how it's kind of always been there. Like guys like John and I have always tried to, you know, make our engines bigger, make the bike faster, make it handle better. I've never been in a track day. It's something that I kind of have, like, I don't really have like a real quote unquote bucket list, but it's something that I definitely, the older I get and the more I learn about like the side of things that you represent and others like you, I want to make sure that that's something that I check off my box too. So.
Well, you know, now they do the bagger track days and all the twin track days out. Me and Cory got to go at Chuckwalla, and it was pretty cool to just see only, you know, Harleys and Indians and twins and not the typical motorcycles you would see at a track day. And it was just a track day full of them. And it was a really good camaraderie that happened. So you should definitely come out and try one of those.
Quick question. Now you're the first female on a bagger, correct?
Yes.
Are there any other females talking about getting involved?
I have not heard of any other. There are some really good competitive female motorcyclists in America. You know, it's a big country. There's a lot of girls out there. Not too many on the pro level, but there are a few others. I have not heard of anyone interested. I'm sure if something happened, who knows? I think at the moment I'm only the only confirmed female that's racing a bagger. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if I'm the craziest one of them all or not, but I'm definitely doing it.
What made me ask was there's a female commenting right now. Yes, ride like a girl. And
yeah, I gotta give that female a shout out. That is my mom, Sally Hallman. Hey,
I didn't know that was your mom, Jason.
I gotta give a shout out to our boy Dan Toast, who's in the house too. So I gotta give a couple shout outs.
Dan,
here.
what's up?
That's cute. Well, I mean, I have so many, like, I love it. I came into racing and I'm still a big fangirl because I haven't really been around that long. And even when I go to a pro level, I'll go up to other racers and ask for their autographs, and they think it's hilarious because even though I'm a pro racer myself, I'm still a fangirl. And it's amazing how many people I've met because I'm one of if not one of only girls out there. And I'll get even other male competitors that have daughters or have sisters or have a mom, or there's not many females that do attend and they do see one girl, and it just gives them someone to really root for and cheer for. And there's so many ladies I've met out there that, you know, they just ride on the street or they just do track days. Like, you know, not everyone is going to become a professional racer, but any ladies out there, I encourage it. Or any ladies that sit there and support it. Any lady that rides with her boyfriend, she just loves motorcycles. And I just think it's amazing, the ladies that I've met out there, that whole like women empowerment and women supporting women. It's a really good feeling. And the fact that I could be there, even if a man is a professional motorcycle racer beating me, but he comes up to me and wants me to meet his daughters. Like, it's a feeling you can't really describe or put into words, but it's really cool to be out there. And just, there were women before me that paved the road that allowed me to be here, but thinking that, that I could possibly influence or help other women do it. It's pretty cool.
And you got to admit, it feels pretty good to kick a guy's ass on the track, doesn't it?
Oh, it is one of the best feelings. I don't think there's a word out there that can describe it. When I show up, especially when I show up, like when I race overseas or somewhere where they don't have any women, and I'm the only female on a superbike grid, and they expect nothing from me and they dismiss me, and just to blow their doors off, like it's a beautiful feeling.
That's funny.
Yeah, I'm always a champion of the ladies side of this thing, because we have here at Cycle Stop USA, we have my daughter's third generation now in the business, and she doesn't ride yet, but she's very much she grew up in a motorcycle centric family, and she's getting ready to take over the business, and she runs it on a day to day, and she's only 22, and she's my youngest daughter that works here with me, and so anytime I can introduce her to another female that's a professional and holds a professional, space in this industry, I try to tell her, like, see, it's, it doesn't have to be, I think it's only dominated by numbers. Some of the most successful companies in our business and some of the most successful bike shop owners are ladies, they're killers.
Absolutely. And I think there's been a few companies I've been fortunate to work with where it's like, the women market is one of the largest growing markets in the motorcycle industry. There's so many women out there now that are willing to ride or, be introduced to racing, whether it's dirt bikes or motorcycles, like just anything with two wheels. The female market, I mean, let's be honest, there's more women than there are men. And not to be mean, but I'm pretty sure we're tougher than most of you guys are. But there's more girls that are just getting comfortable and passionate about it. And the market for females in the motorcycle industry is like growing. And I love to see it. I love to see it like out there. And, on my level, it might be a little different than what I deal with. But for the most part, most guys are very enthusiastic, as well as women being out there and riding.
Hey, I just want to remind everybody that if you have questions, just go right here, put your questions right over here on the side, and we'll be happy to ask Patricia any questions that you have. But I've got another question for you. So how long was it before you started, once you ratcheted up from the track days to the expert level, and you said you were a club rider for a bit, and then now you're pro, what is the timeline on that? How did that work out for you?
I think I excelled relatively quickly. So April 10, 2010 was my first ever track day. And I would say when I was a noob, I brought my street bike, I put duct tape over the mirrors, and I still had my license plate on. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. And then a few months later, I started racing. 2011, I was an amateur. I did a full year racing as amateur. I won a bunch of championships and stuff. And then 2012, I went expert. I won a bunch of championships, and I had qualified for enough points to qualify for the last 3 rounds of the 2013 season as pro. And I remember, like, the first time I went to the expert race and I was trying to qualify, like, I was crying. Like, I was like, I shouldn't be here. Like, what am I doing? And I had no idea. And I made the grid, and I was like, even on the grid for the pro race, I was like, oh my God, I was freaking out. I didn't think I'd, deserve to be there. And it was just such a surreal feeling. And then 2013, I did the full AMA pro year, super sport. And I just kept going. Like, I just kept doing it. Like, I wasn't the best at first, but I just kept going and kept doing it, chasing that feeling that I had inside. And then 2014 was my first year that I rode for a bigger team, like out of a semi truck and stuff. And I started racing overseas the same year. And it just, there wasn't anything I really necessarily planned for. I thought it was going to happen, but I was just going to, ride it as long as I could, all the positive highs. And there were just more and more doors that kept opening. I was racing overseas. I was in Mexico and Australia and Ireland, and I was racing here. And it was just, I just kept getting better and better. And if anyone ever gave me an opportunity to race a motorcycle, I just took it. I was just taking it. And so, like I said, there's so many people like Cory, he's multiple generation motorcycle racer. and, been riding since he was 4 and kind of came up the way most professional racers do, riding dirt bikes and flat tracks and then smaller motorcycles and then bigger motorcycles. And first motorcycle I rode was a 600. Like I never rode the little bikes. I almost started backwards. I rode the faster bikes. And then when I got better, I had to ride a smaller bike to learn different skills and techniques that I just skipped that step. So it was a little different, I guess, compared to most other people, how they do it. But I feel like with our world and our opportunity that we have, like if you just have it, you have to take it.
Absolutely. You have to take advantage of all the opportunities that are going to further your cause. Let me ask you a question, getting back to the bagger racing and that it's, there's 2 sanctioning bodies out there. Obviously, is this something that where you're going to be able to race in both of them, or are they 2 completely separate, or how is that going to work?
They are 2 completely separate organizations. There's the King of the Baggers, which is a sub of Moto America, the Professional Motorcycle Racing League, and it's just a class that they have in it. And now there's the Bagger Racing League, where that is what they do. Bagger racing is their main event. I believe they're going to have other classes like hooligan racing and some other ones. 2 separate professional organizations. I believe Saddlemen has plans to do more than one. We're not necessarily committed to one, but we're definitely starting out at Utah with the bagger racing class. But I think it's amazing that after one race, it became so popular. Now we actually have multiple organizations that want to host and have these races.
I've got one of our viewers, Nancy Weems, is asking, who was your inspiration?
Oh, that's tough. So I never really had anyone that inspired me. No one in my family rode motorcycles. I didn't grow up with anyone racing of any kind, cars, go-karts, anything. I just love them. And I can't tell you where it came from. I thought they were cool. Like to me, all I can think of is like Steve McQueen, like the epitome of cool, like riding on his motorcycle. And it was like, oh, I want to be cool like that. Once I got into racing more and I started racing, watching racing videos and becoming more of a racer, I related more with guys that were like Bruce Anstey, or some of the gentlemen were some of the most prestigious, well-known racers, Guy Martin or Bruce Anstey or certain people, but they were really humble and kind. And it wouldn't matter if you were a fan or like I was a new racer, they would take the time to talk to you. And when I started meeting professional racers that had that humble characteristic, were more people that I really admired. However, once COVID hit, Cory and I, we purchased a bunch of the old MotoGP in review and World Superbike in review from like 1983 up. And this was like even before I was born, and I started racing them or watching the videos of the old racing. And that's when I say men were men. And no tire warmers, nothing fancy. They would like push start their motorcycles and, 50 lap races, stuff that's like I watch now and I don't even know if I would ever do. And I became a big fan of Steady Eddie Lawson, who was a multi-time world champion in the 80s. Like I said, before I was born. But to me, like that epitome of cool when men were men is, kind of what I admire more so. I guess I can't say there were any female role models for me, because when I became a racer, there really wasn't any lady racers out there. There was a few, but nothing on a big scale. It was kind of making your own path, I guess.
Perfect. We're going to go to break real quick, and we'll be back very shortly, and we'll introduce Mr. Cory West. Can you stay with us for a few minutes, Patricia?
I can stay with you for a few minutes.
Perfect. We'll be right back.
We're ready to race. What's your strategy? Go fast.
The Fueling name has been associated with racing and high-performance engines since 1974, when founder Jim Fueling started fueling the flames. From Daytona to Monaco, from the Bonneville Salt Flats to the Indy 500. Fueling is here to compete. Look for the Flying Pig to run up front this year with pilot Ben Bosman. Fueling. No bullshit, just performance.
Hey guys, Mikkel here from Clockworks. Today I'm going to talk to you about a fantastic cleaning product that we offer called Shineworks. I usually apply the product on one side of the microfiber towel and usually have a dry side, so kind of like the Karate Kid, you're going to do a wax on, wax off, clean it with one side, flip it to the dry side, you'll have no streaks left. But Shineworks is a really great product that cleans and details the entire motorcycle for you. Everybody knows us because of our fantastic Clockworks Flare windshields, but a lot of people didn't know that we also have a great cleaning product. Shineworks is a cleaning product that will clean and detail the whole bike. Now you can have something that will safely clean and protect the matte finish and also shine the gloss part as well as the windshield and any chrome you have on the motorcycle. Pick up a bottle at your local dealership, give us a call, order it on getclock.com. You can even find us on Amazon Prime now.
Everything we do at the track shapes what we build for the street and the dirt.
You can see how bad these guys want it. A race to the line.
For us, racing is not for the trophies or the glory. We compete because it makes everything we do faster, more durable, and tested to a higher standard. For S&S, racing is the ultimate in proven performance, and we've been proving it since 1958.
And welcome back to the Shineworks studio, Torque Performance Television. I'm your host, Jason Hallman. With me tonight is my co-host, John O'Brien from Hardcore Cycles, and we are talking to Team Saddlemen Racer, Patricia Fernandez. Patricia, I know you've got to wrap up and spend some time with your family. We wanted to bring Cory in too and get a little bit of back and forth going, and we want to know about these bikes that you guys are going to be riding, and then we'll have to cut you loose so that you can go spend some quality time with your family.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It's kind of fun. Cory and I have raced against each other, but we've never raced against each other on the same team. So this is new territory for us in more than one way, not just baggers, but also the team dynamic.
Patricia, you're gonna be on the Indian, right?
Correct. I'm going to be on the Indian and Cory's going to be on a Harley. So there's even a little competition within the competition.
Now, I talked to Saddlemen earlier today. They gave us the cut sheet. Or maybe that was yesterday. They gave us the cut sheet on the Harley. The Indian, they haven't had that long, so it's not complete. Have you guys seen it?
I haven't even raced it. I haven't even tested it yet. They're working really hard. Woolie's workshop is the one that's been building the motorcycle.
That's what I'm looking at. Looking at it on Instagram. I'm like stalking it.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Nothing says commitment like stalking, right? Woolie was the one that built the Saddlemen Harley, and I was able to test that one, and it was amazing, blew my mind. I 100% have confidence in him that he'll build an equally amazing Indian motorcycle, and he's working on it. It's really tough. It's crazy because the guys that are building these baggers, modifying to a race spec, there hasn't been anything out there. There's not like someone you can order these parts from. He's literally building them all from scratch and stenciling them and creating them. Like, this is the first that this ever happened in this industry. So they're creating parts and they're creating things that have never been there. So it's a little more difficult than just, if I wanted to go build a Yamaha right now, there's tons of parts out there I could get from anyone. Where right now we're literally creating and designing the parts that hopefully in the future other bagger owners will be able to purchase. So it takes a little more time than it would be a motorcycle that's already been developed, but it's also even that much more exciting and amazing from my perspective, where he sends photos and you see it created and see it built. It's like you just feel like you're a part of something so much bigger.
Do you know when you're going to be able to get on it? Any idea?
You never ask a motorcycle builder when it's going to be done. If you
Can I get a name, man?
Can I get a name, man?
Yeah, it'll be done when it's done. Any mechanic's going to tell you that. I promise you, they're working their heart out, and 100% most definitely I'm going to be able to test it before we race it. But hopefully soon.
Now, are you able to show the track days before the race? Like, is that going to, like, can people tune into your Instagram and check that out before the race?
Well, they'd be able to tune in. Like when I was able to test it when we flew out to Chuckwalla a few weeks ago, we posted up, photos and videos. We were doing live videos. They showed me struggling to stand on it because it was so tall I couldn't even touch. I'm very short, but I couldn't touch. But then they filmed my reaction when I came in, which was very genuine. Like you could see my smile through the helmet. I was like very enthusiastic. But we like to show, like if you follow my Instagram or Cory's Instagram, when we do the track days, we show like behind the scene footage and the live interviews and stuff that you can't see necessarily about lap times. I didn't bring a GoPro or anything with me the last time because I was just so nervous. I just wanted to ride it. However, I feel like I'll be using a GoPro on the next ones. So maybe you can get a little bit of onboard footage, but that would be, you'd have to follow our Instagram to see.
All right.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us where we can find you on your Instagram? I can't see there. Is it LadyRacer_926?
Correct. That was my little original Instagram when I became a professional racer. 926 was my number. It was actually my father's birthday, who passed away on my first pro race. And to, just honor him, I did September 26, 926 was my race number. And then when I went pro and I was racing under that, I was dating a gentleman who passed away, whose number was 00, which is why I honor the 00 number when I race overseas. But I won't run that number in the States. I don't know if it's a little bit of superstition or how you want to play it, but so I kind of just kept with the original Lady Racer 926 is what I try to go with.
Hey, Patricia, we got one last question before we cut you loose, but somebody in the comments is wondering about the lap times from the bagger versus the sport bike.
The bagger versus the sport bike?
Yeah, as far as how your lap times were. I mean, obviously, I'm going to obviously assume that, with the new seat time and all that stuff, that it wasn't as fast as the sport bike, but how did it measure up as far as your lap times versus one bike versus a different kind of bike?
So it wasn't quite as fast. Obviously it wasn't. When I rode the bagger, I was able to ride the Sportster more than the bagger. Cause at the time, Cory and I were both sharing the Harley. So he was able to ride it first since he already rode it. And I was riding the Sportster. And then I got to ride the bagger. And by the time I got to the bagger, I only got one really good session on it before I roasted the tire and I couldn't ride it anymore. I feel like Cory roasted the tire, so I couldn't go faster. No, I'm just thinking, but,
shots fired.
No, I'm thinking. I was a little upset. I wanted to keep going. When you get excited and you want to keep going, and we didn't have another tire. It's like a little kid that got disappointed. But I've only ridden the fastest 1000s when they're at Chuckwalla would probably be about mid 40s or so. I've only ridden mine there once, and I was in low 50s. Cory was in the high 50s. So generously speaking, maybe 7 to 10 seconds, which really, considering neither one of us, Cory or I would say neither one of us are at our actual race pace. Because when you're doing a track day and you're testing, you are pushing, but you're tweaking and trying to learn how you can go faster. If you put us in an actual grid with other racers next to us, I guarantee you our times are going to be faster because that's just what racers do. So it was already really impressive to see Cory was doing a 158, which is about 10 seconds off of what podium on a 1000 would be. If you think about it, that's extremely impressive considering it wasn't even a race. It was just a track day. I was a little bit slower. It was my first time on it. I feel obviously the more time I get on it, building that confidence and building that comfort, I am going to go faster. It's not a sport bike, but at the same time, it's not slow either. I think you just have to adjust yourself when you've been used to riding a sport bike, the way you carry your body position and the way you ride it and the way you handle the throttle, it's totally different. The first thing they were telling me was to shift right away. They were worried I was going to blow the motor because on a sport bike, you rev it up, really high, and on a bagger, you got to shift right away. Like it does not pull the same. There's significantly more torque. It's just not the high end power that you're used to. The way you move your body, the way you brake, it's all just different. So when you've never ridden anything like that, you have to get that seat time to be able to be what your potential is. And I don't think neither I nor Cory have reached our potential of what we could. But considering that was our first time on it and our times that we have done, I mean, my mind's already blown. I can only imagine what we'd actually do if you were elbow to elbow with another racer and that adrenaline kicks in and that competitiveness kicks in where you're willing to push the limit more than you ever thought you would. So not as far off. Honestly, I was expecting a significant difference, like 30 seconds or so, and to see it within 10 seconds on the first day, my mind was already blown. And I think there's more potential. The more they develop these motorcycles, the more we race them, I think it's even going to be closer.
Well, good, because I think that'll shut up a lot of the naysayers. If you're 10 seconds off on a track day from one bike to the next, that is a credit to your ability to ride and a credit to the bike's ability to perform. So I want to thank you very much for spending some time with us. I'm going to let you get back to your family because I know that family time is valuable time, especially when you're traveling to see people. So thank you so much. And tell everybody where they can follow you.
Lady Racer _926 on Instagram and Patricia Fernandez Racing on Facebook. And obviously, if you follow Saddlemen Racing, you will get updates on all my endeavors over the next year.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. That was a pretty awesome interview. Let's bring in Cory now.
First
there
question.
he is.
The beauty. Here he is.
Are you dating up,
First
Cory?
question.
Be honest.
Yeah, that's my girlfriend.
The 100-year war between Indian and Harley. How is that not going to affect your relationship?
We're both having fun on the racetrack, so it's only going to make us a stronger couple.
You think she has the advantage with the Indian?
We'll see. I'm excited to see what Wooly pumps out of the Saddleman shop with that new Indian, and I'm just looking forward to getting back to the track. And I'm sure that since Patricia got to ride the Harley, I'm sure they're going to let me ride that Indian a little bit as well.
And on that Saddleman bike, the seat's almost like a pedestal.
Yeah.
Is that like being a Harley guy looking at that? It's awkward. It looks awkward.
Yeah.
How is that for you? Is that more like a sport bike? Did that put you in a position more like a sport bike?
Yeah, it gets your butt up higher and kind of gets your feet underneath you, which is more like a sport bike. The biggest difference is we're carrying a lot more lean angle than what these things were designed for. So being able to lift the foot pegs up off the ground and get some more ground clearance, it's only a lot easier to do because of that pedestal seat getting your butt up off the ground a little bit. Yeah.
I know when they wheeled that bike out, I mean, all the other bikes had the Saddlemen step ups, which I got a Road King. That's what I rock on that. And then when they wheeled that thing out and that seat was like that, all the other competitors were like, Saddlemen, you know what I mean? It was like a game changer almost.
Why didn't we think of that? Yeah, exactly. So, I did that first King of the Baggers event for Sly Fox Performance. And that was the hardest thing for me to get used to was the seating position of a conventional bagger. You're kind of sitting low in the thing and your feet are kind of in front of you. So, I did end up managing to drag my knees on the Sly Fox rig, but as soon as I sat on the Saddlemen rig, it was like, this feels racy. This feels right.
Wow.
Can you, Cory, can you basically, obviously the bikes are completely different than, certain parts are completely different, but can you walk us through kind of what is the major differences between like a production bike and this? Is the frame modified? Besides the things that you can see that are obvious?
I think the frame is one of the only things that's not modified. I know that we've got an alloy art swing arm on the back. It's a chain drive conversion. Obviously we got Olin's front end with Brembo brakes. I mean, basically from the forks to the front wheel is all road race stuff. Wooly and the Saddlemen guys, they made a bunch of amazing carbon fiber. So all the bodywork that you see is carbon fiber. The bags are carbon, the tank's carbon. So the biggest thing that you notice right away is, the bikes start off at somewhere close to 900 pounds, I think, off the dealer floor. And they've got this one down in the 500 pound, 520, 520, 530 range, which is unbelievable. I mean, they told me jokingly
Cory,
that they shaved 10 pounds just off of the wiring harness. So
Jesus
it's
Christ.
crazy. It's
Wow.
just amazing the amount of weight that's come off those bikes.
I know it's titanium hardware, carbon fiber everywhere they could. You know what I mean? Like you said, even down to the harness. Do you know what the Indian weight is versus the Harley? Is there any advantage there?
The Harley's definitely lighter, and from what I've seen in the rules for Bagger Racing League, yeah, they're gonna let the pushrod Harleys have a lighter weight compared to the more modern technology engine of the Indian.
Got it. Now, how much time have you had on the bike?
Let's see. I guess really just one session at the big Bagger Racing League debut at Chuckwalla, and then we got to go back for a V-twin track day about a month ago, and I got half a day on the thing. So that first little taste at Chuckwalla was awesome.
Okay.
I was there to ride the Sly Fox performance rig, but we were kind of dealing with some electronic issues with that bike. Couldn't figure out why it wasn't running quite right. And so it was the end of the day, and I rode a couple different things. Fueling let me ride that W3. I got to ride a FTR 1200 from Aaron Colton. And then right there at the end, they were like, here, why don't you ride this thing? I was like, yeah, let me ride that thing.
That's awesome. Jason,
so,
you
yeah,
have something?
I do.
Very
Cory,
cool
we've got Nancy Weems is wanting to know, how hard was the center of gravity to get used to?
That really wasn't that bad. It was more really just like the riding position and sorry about that. Just the riding position and the weight, and then I guess also the wheelbase. Those bikes are long compared to a sport bike. So center of gravity seems to be pretty low. I mean, all the weight seems to be pretty low. It's just spread out over a pretty good wheelbase.
We've got a couple people wanting to know what the minimum weight is. How light can these bikes be?
Right around where that Saddlemen bike is, I think.
Right on the button, huh?
Yeah, 525 pounds, I think, is what the rule book says. But I haven't looked at it that close. I'd have to double check there.
If I remember correctly from last year, I think all of them were pretty much within 2 or 3 pounds of whatever that minimum weight is. They all got to that, I think, except one, if I remember correctly.
I think most of them were probably more in like the 600-pound range.
Really?
And, yeah, Saddlemen, I think they might have known that the Bagger race was coming before everybody or something, but they definitely spent some more time making that thing light. Yeah, that thing is light for sure.
Well, so what races do you know are like on the schedule for you at this point? Obviously, we were talking with Patricia earlier. She said that the Indian will be done when it's done. You're scheduled to ride the Harley. Are you waiting until the Indian's done to ride the Harley, or are you going to be fielding that Harley at a race prior to that, based off of the schedule that's already been put out there?
Yeah, the problem there is, Saddlemen only has a few guys that are kind of dedicated to the Bagger race program, so they can't take Michael Woldaway away from the Indian project to go race the Harley, and then so really we just need to get both bikes done and ready, and do some testing, and then we'll for sure be ready to rock at Utah, and then hopefully get to race some more throughout the year. I know that there's been talks about doing as much racing as we can after the bikes are built, so just have to wait and see.
That's pretty awesome. So, the Salt Lake City, the Utah Salt Lake City race, that's going to be towards the end of May, is it not?
End of June.
It's June,
yeah.
Okay.
June 20th, weekend of the 24th, something like that. Yep.
Yeah, but that's going to come pretty fast because May 1st is coming up in a couple days. So
yeah, it's almost May. So yeah, we'll be there before you know it.
Are they? We've got somebody asking a question. Aileen Angelos is asking: is there a limit on cubic inch?
I I think the 131 kit is pretty much the biggest you can go, naturally aspirated. I know that Trask Performance does their turbo bikes. I think that they have to be a little smaller displacement, but they're already gaining quite a bit of power.
With that boost
compared to, yeah. I finished behind Travis Wyman at Laguna, and like he passed me on the straightaway. I was like, "Am I in the wrong class? What was that?"
That was torque.
The turbo bike was fast.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, the folks out there that want to follow you on social media, where can they follow you at on social media?
My Instagram is Cory West 13. That's CORY. And then I have a Facebook racing page. It's Cory West number 13. That's pretty much my best handles.
Right. And so you're still actively engaged in the other class racing that you do as well. Is that true?
Well, I've been a professional road racer for 21 years. I've been doing it since I was 16 at a professional level. So now that I'm 36, I don't do it as much as I used to. It's kind of really got to be worth it. The risk to reward kind of has to at least balance itself out. I've had opportunities to ride all kinds of different stuff. So, I don't want to just go out there and ride to finish 6th or 7th or 8th. I want a shot at putting the thing on the podium. So, once you kind of know where you can stack up in a field, it's like you don't want to go out there and finish mid-pack. You want to race for the win. So, I'm super stoked to have this opportunity to ride with the Saddlemen guys. They've built some good bikes, and looking forward to doing some different racing. I mean, the whole bagger scene came on quick, but honestly, I wasn't a Harley guy until I got to ride one, and it was awesome. I had a good time. They're faster than I thought they'd be, and there's something challenging in the fact that you get on something that's not meant to do what we're doing on them, and you're dragging everything and giving her hell.
What was the biggest surprise that you had when you threw your leg over and let that clutch out the first time? Was that were you familiar with the torque difference between a sport bike or the road bikes that you had been on in the Harleys?
Yeah, I mean, I've raced some of Eric Buell's crazy machines in the past, so I knew all about V-twin power. But torque, holy torque, man! The Sly Fox performance bike. I went to Saddlemen. That's where they were kind of working out of that shop, and they fired the thing up and said, "All right, tell us what you think. Ride it down the street." Okay, I grabbed my helmet. I took off and my Van slip-ons, grabbed a handful, and was just like, "Wow, that thing's pretty fast." Not what I was expecting, but they accelerate hard for sure.
And so how did you end up on the Harley, and Patricia's going to end up on the Indian? What was you flipped the coin? Did you lose the bet? Did you win the bet? How does that work?
Honestly, I think, I don't know really. I think they saw me ride the Harley and saw kind of what the lap times were. And I think deep down, everyone in that bagger scene wants to see a Harley win one. They don't want to see Indian go out there and beat everybody. So, I guess they're doing what they think they got to do to get a Harley on top of the box.
Yeah, I mean, they're creating an entire league. Actually, 2 leagues are being created kind of around this space, and I think we're going to see things ratchet up pretty fast here in the next year to probably for the foreseeable future, at any rate. So, John, do you have any?
Yeah, I don't think this is going away.
No,
that's what I was going to say. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I mean, I compare it to like when superbikes kind of started in the 80s. They were big, heavy, wobbly pieces of crap with a bunch of horsepower. And it's like, okay, well, we need to make them handle better. We need to make them stop better. We need to get them, suspension dialed in. And so, that progression through the 90s, that's what made sport bikes so cool in the 90s. It was like things just kept getting cooler and cooler. And so now, you take this bagger it starts off as something that's not meant to do what we're doing. So, okay, it's going to need some brakes. We got to shave some weight. Let's go with some more power. You just start getting racier and racier. You get swing arms and all this crazy CNC machine parts, and it's limitless to what you can do with these things. So yeah, I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
What would you tell somebody that's trying to, because there's a significant number of people, especially like in the chopper community, they're trying to poo-poo the idea of racing these bikes. What was the one thing you would want them to know after riding one and doing a track day?
Take your bike to the racetrack, man. Go get it out there on the racetrack and start exploring what the thing's capable of. I mean, you can only do so much on the street safely. So you got to take it to the racetrack. I mean, go out on the racetrack. You're not worried about oncoming cars. It's basically a prepaid speeding ticket. Pay your money, go out there, and flog that thing. See what you're capable of.
That was one of my questions. Like, how do you adjust from the track to when you go out for a ride?
Honestly, I don't ride sport bikes on the street anymore. It's my brain's wired to go way too fast. I mean, I think I'm chilling doing the speed limit. I'm doing like 85. So it's like,
yeah,
I ride dirt bikes
40
on the street. Yeah, I'm all about riding dual sport stuff nowadays. But I guess I need to save my dollars and get myself a Harley to go cruising on.
We know a guy. Hey, so one of the viewers is wondering torque versus horsepower and how that would apply to this kind of racing.
Torque's what makes riding those things on the street so much fun. It makes it tough sometimes on the racetrack because torque helps you get off the corner, but then you kind of need that horsepower on top, especially if it's a fast racetrack. So I feel like now that we're exploring all these horsepower boundaries and stuff, there's going to be a whole new wave of tuning, trying to figure out what works best to make these big V twins go down the racetrack well.
Absolutely. Rich Petoniak, I would like to see here, he's always asking if there's going to be a racing class for the Dynas and FXRs, and I've actually heard some rumblings and grumblings about that. I don't know if you have heard any of that as I have, but I've heard some what I would say are qualified rumors that there's going to be some sort of a sportsman class that are centered around some of the smaller bikes that have the similar powertrains.
The Bagger Racing League is.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, isn't it called the Big Twin Grand Prix or something? Big Twin GP.
Big Twin class.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, forgive me. I don't know all the Harley model names.
Oh, you're forgiven.
I'm still
already.
learning.
Yeah. You've already made your successful move. Yeah, you've made a successful move to the dark side. So listen, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I did want you to. I wanted to thank you for coming on and representing Team Saddlemen. I look forward to watching you. I will be in Salt Lake City for the race to cover that for Torque Magazine. And can you tell our viewers where they can follow you and find you and support you?
Yeah, absolutely. Check out my Instagram page at Cory West 13. I'll be posting some stuff on my Facebook racing page. That's also Cory West number 13. Saddleman's going to be posting stuff. Check out Patricia, Lady Racer 926. She's always good at getting the candid stuff when I'm not paying attention. So we'll definitely be keeping the social medias rolling through these bagger events, and looking forward to some good racing.
Cool, man. I appreciate you stopping by and taking some time to spend the evening with us, and we look forward to watching you in person and watch you on the gram.
Awesome, guys. I appreciate you having me on, and look forward to talking to you in person.
Thank you.
Yeah, can't wait.
So, John, here is we're going to go to our next segment, which is the From the Gram, I believe. Is that where we're at now? And this is going to be, I'm hoping this is going to be the most popular segment of the show going forward here. So this is what I was saying in the beginning. It's one part ridiculousness, one part Tosh.0. And so we're going to give you, John picked one video, I picked one video. We'll start with John's and the segment we call From the Gram.
This is great.
Yeah, that video, we're gonna have to watch that one at least one more time. That video has a little bit of everything, right? It starts out, you've got some pretty solid wheelie action in there. There's a street fight. There's some beer drinking. There's some twerking. I mean, it really
covers all the bases.
That's Daytona in a nutshell, folks.
Yeah.
Where did you find that video?
If I was 20 years old, saw that video, and didn't have a Harley, I'd be fucking going out and buying one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they didn't. If they would have had the Gram when I was 20, I probably would have turned into even more of an idiot than I am. I can't imagine what I would have been doing. But yeah, I definitely would have been a part of the debauchery that you just saw there.
All right, we got one more coming up. This is Jason's pick.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Got to raise them right.
I was still shitting my diaper at that age.
Yeah, well, me too. And here's the cool thing. Like, so the reason why I picked this was for me, Jason Pullen is the OG, like one of the original guys that absolutely, started doing the wheelies on the Harleys, and he hasn't stopped. I think he's a year older than me. I think he's like right around 50, and that's his wife, his lovely wife, and then his son, Harley, and he's teaching that kid how to hang on for dear life. But you know what? I would sit on the tank and let him do a wheelie if he'd take me for a ride. I trust that dude. He's done enough of them.
Look at that.
Look at all the black marks. Could you imagine if you owned that warehouse thing and you came in on a Monday and Sunday you had brand new concrete poured, and then the weekend you come back in a weekend too, and it's just all marked up. I mean, you're not hurting nothing, but yeah. So that was posted by Bassani Exhaust, and so that's going to be a segment that we're going to do every week. And so if you want to have your video featured on the Gram segment, you want to hashtag Torque the Gram, and if you hashtag Torque the Gram, we'll go through those and we'll bring it in. And then we've got one more segment here that we're going to do, and this will be our 50-50 tech, and then we'll wrap up live from the Shineworks studios.
On this week's 50-50 segment, we're going to change the oil on my 2016 Dyna Lowrider. Now, I'm fresh back from Bike Week, and I ran this thing pretty hard. So my guess is the oil's pretty cooked. Let's take a look at what we're going to use to get this job done. Now, our 2016 Dyna Lowrider calls for 3 quarts of oil plus a filter. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at what we're actually using. We're using 3 quarts of Spectro 2050 conventional. This is a fantastic oil that's available at all WPS hard drive dealers. And we're going to use a high flow Filtro black oil filter because I like using a black filter instead of a chrome one. We're also going to change the drain plug O-ring. The drain plug O-ring is part number 11105, and these are available at all Harley dealers or your independent dealers. Let's take a look at the tools needed to complete this job. We don't need very many. We're going to need a small pick to remove the O-ring from the old drain plug, 3/8 drive ratchet, 3/8 drive extension with a 17 millimeter for the end of our old oil filter. I'm going to use a swivel socket. It's 5/8 for my drain plug on a 12-inch extension so that I can get right underneath the engine and transmission to the drain plug at the proper angle. Most of your major home improvement stores have a very good tool selection nowadays, and these tools can be found there. As always, we never use any thread tape on any of our drain plugs. We only use liquid Teflon, so I have some of that here as well. Now, this is a job that anybody can do with a reasonable amount of skill and a reasonable amount of tools, and you don't need a hoist to do it. You can do it right on the flat ground. In fact, on a Dyna, they lean to the left on the kickstand, and that's going to help you drain all your oil. The one thing I will tell you, it helps if you heat the bike up to full operating temperature because it makes the oil come out a lot faster. Let's walk through the steps on changing the oil on this Dyna Lowrider. Step 1, I remove the dipstick. I check the dipstick to see if there's any debris on there. I'm also checking to see the quality of the oil that I'm removing. If it's too dark, I've got to remember that I've got to do an oil change sooner than later next time. Step 2, I make sure the drain pan is under the drain plug. Then I remove the drain plug. When I remove the drain plug, there's a magnet on the end. I'm going to make sure that I check that there's no debris on there, or if it is, I want to make sure that I understand what debris is. At that point in time, I clean the drain plug threads, I remove the old O-ring, put the new O-ring on it, and I apply just a small amount of liquid Teflon. And now my drain plug's ready to go back in once my oil's completely drained. As my oil's draining in the back, I loosen the oil filter in the front. When the oil's coming out of the front, it's going to leave a little bit of a mess. So there's a little trick I'm going to show you to make sure that you stuff something under there to catch some of the additional oil. Once the oil filter's removed, I'm going to dispose of it properly. I usually leave it upside down in the pan and let it drain for at least 24 hours. When you're reinstalling the new oil filter, put a small amount of oil on the O-ring to make sure that when you tighten it up to the oil filter housing outlet on the block of the engine, that O-ring doesn't twist or tear. That's super important. Also, make sure that O-ring's there, because if it's not there, your oil filter's not going to seal. The next step is to put the oil drain plug back in. Make sure that you have a small amount of liquid Teflon and your new O-ring on there. When you tighten the drain plug, tighten it snug and go about 1/8 of a turn. You don't want to over tighten it and tear the O-ring, because then you're going to have a leak. The next step is to put 3 quarts of 20W50 spectral oil into our engine. The final step is to reinstall your engine oil dipstick. Now I like to reinstall mine once, pull it back out, and check and make sure that the oil level is indicated correctly on that dipstick before I fire my engine. Once I tighten the dipstick and I've verified that there's oil, I'll start my engine and I'll let it idle until the oil light goes out. Once the oil light goes out, you're good to go. Check for leaks, wipe up any residual oil on the motorcycle so that nothing gets on your tires, and now you're road ready. All right, so there you have it. We're all done. We completed an oil change in under $50 in under 50 minutes. And I'd say on the scale of 1 to 5, that's about a 1.5 or 2 on your skill level. This is something that you can do yourself at least once annually or every 5,000 miles. It's always a good idea to check your engine oil level anytime you ride. Make sure you stay tuned to Torque Television for our next 50/50 tech tip.
What a handsome gentleman that was. He was a little corny with some of his talking, though. He's like, he had the game show voice going. So I had to say drain plug one more time, right? Well, how do you think we did, John? We kicked off Torque Performance this week, right? We've got our social media feeds up. We're going to have our website live. It's live now, but it's not complete yet. It's going to be torquemagusa.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, on Facebook. And we appreciate – I want to thank you, John, for all your help getting this thing going. Hopefully you'll be around next week. We can do this again.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You know what? Thank you to everybody who's been so supportive for this program, getting it off the ground. And I bid you a good week and a good night. And, John, what are your closing thoughts?
I forgot to mention Saddlemen will be giving away tickets to the race.
Oh, okay. How do we find out about that, or how do we get information?
Tune into their social media. They'll be giving away. I'm assuming most likely on Instagram. Just give them a follow. Pay attention. They'll be giving them out.
Awesome.
So,
I want to send
involved, which is cool.
Awesome, man. I appreciate your help. All the help you've given me in the last 5 weeks, dude. All the advice, and
no problem.
One more time, I want to thank the Clockworks family and the Shineworks line of cleaners as our official studio sponsor, and coming live from the Clockworks Shineworks studio. I'm signing off. Jason Hallman, John O'Brien.
I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, see you next week at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Next Thursday, 9 p.m.
Yep. Have a good week.
I'll see you.
Bye.